Camoys TV stopped in at the Zonta Club of Oakville International Women's Day celebration to speak with Olympic champion Catriona Le May Doan and get her perspective on International Women's Day and women in sport. So we're here sitting with Catriona Le May Doan, a two-time Olympic champion in women's speed skating for 500 meters. Do you think being a woman in sport brought you greater difficulty or challenges throughout your career as a speed skater?
You know, speed skating, I would say, is a sport that was quite equal, male to female. I know some sports are completely different, but we really, I was a sprinter in speed skating, and we worked well with a male and a female team together. And even on the international circuit, we were really a tight-knit group. So I know many sports that have struggled with that sort of male and female side, but I've been fortunate to really have a tight-knit team, not just on my own team, but internationally as well. And so I don't take that lightly, and I really appreciate that that was the situation.
Balancing your personal life and dedication to sport can be difficult. She gave us some insight on the reality of what difficulties and sacrifices a professional female athlete may face.
In order to be successful at a high-performance sport, you have to be very selfish. So for me, it was the stage in my life where I'd met who was my husband at the time. He was working within sport, so he was a good support role for me. But I knew that kids would not be involved in that equation, because I've seen women try to be a mom and be a high-performance athlete, and I think that's very difficult, because that's a big difference between male and female, is that I don't believe that you can be the best female athlete and the best mom at the same time. So I think for me, it was sort of, that was the stage of my life. I did that for 23 years. Then when I retired, it was time to become a mom. And there was never an option of going back to sport.
From your knowledge, by competing not only in Canada but around the world, how do you think people view female athletes?
For our sport of speed skating, in general, we skated in the winter nations. I mean, there is some skating in Australia, but I would say in those sports, males and females really are treated quite equally. I've seen, as a broadcaster, extreme differences on what the females have had to endure. I mean, it was only in London in 2012, so only 7 years ago, that every country finally was sending female representation in sport. And it's great that we've achieved that, but I don't believe in sport across the board that they're still in the same, probably in the same level. There are different, whether you're talking how they're treated, whether you're talking the financial part, financial side is definitely very different on the professional sport, female, male. So we have a long way to go to make it equal for males and females.
Do you think it's more difficult for women to be recognized from their accomplishments than men?
I would say, in general, when I look at recognition of sport, there's a lot more recognition on the male side. One of the statistics that I'm actually sharing at this event is that, and this is a Canadian statistic, out of 35,000 hours of sport programming, only 4% actually goes towards female sport. And within that 4%, that includes the Sochi 2014 Games and women's tennis events. So if we look at what is seen on TV, which is what influences many of our youngsters, it's in general male sport. So as a mom of a teenage daughter, that worries me, but that's where I think we have such great female role models that I try to make sure that my daughter witnesses, whether it's to tell her about them or to actually see them in action. But yeah, I think what people see, especially on the television, it's definitely more male-sided.
Why do you think it's still important to celebrate International Women's Day, and do you think it's still necessary to do?
I for sure think it's important to celebrate International Women's Day. You know, I'm a strong, physically but also emotionally woman. I'm very independent, and yet I don't have an easy time asking for help. I don't always need help, but when I do, it's sort of when I'm at my lowest. And I think we need to celebrate the fact that we can be a great role model to girls. We can be independent, we can volunteer, we can do sport, we can work, and we can be nurturing. And I have been told after I retired and I was busy volunteering and doing various things that I'd already had my time. Because as I mentioned, as an athlete, you have to be a bit selfish. And I thought about that, and then it really bothered me because I thought, I want to be an example to my daughter, just like my mom is an example to me, that we can do many things. And it doesn't mean we sacrifice any of them, but we can help others. And you know, we can still achieve our own goals and yet make sure that we are there for those that need us. I often say that if tomorrow is my last day on this earth, and we never know when it is going to be, if on my last day that people can say that I helped them become better people, then to me I've achieved what I want to achieve.
Catriona Le May Doan left a final message that can resonate with many of us, especially women of all ages and young women who are inspired to follow their dreams in sport.
You know, life is a journey, and we often think we know what our journey is going to be, and we map it out, and sometimes there's a roadblock that we don't plan for, and that's okay. So I would say, and especially I've taken some different journeys the last sort of year and a half, it's okay to question things, and it's okay to take a risk. You know, to change that path, it takes courage, and it's okay to take a risk even if it's not the right risk. That's all right. So, you know, I would just encourage women of whatever age, you know, at some point follow your gut, but again, be real. Don't be artificial. Be real. Understand that you will have successes, you will have failures, you will need people, at times you don't need people, and all of those are okay.
Into the final turn, Catriona Le May Doan is leading Monica Enfield, but here comes Enfield. Doan driving to the line. Her world record time, 3:7.22, 3:7.45. Catriona Le May Doan has done it. She has won the gold medal for the second Olympics in a row.